Can you tell me a little bit about the Hobson plantation?
The plantation was founded in 1852. I think originally it got up to be about 4,000 acres. This is where the cotton picking machine was invented and premiered here in 1944, so it's historically significant. Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin in 1792, and it wasn't until 1944 they invented a machine to pick it.
How did the invention of the cotton picking machine change life here in the Delta?
Well, it displaced so many blacks all of a sudden. You know, you didn't need hundreds of hands living on your farm to pick cotton, and that was the primary need for sheer numbers of people was to pick the cotton. I mean, during harvest season, pre-mechanization, the migrant Mexican farmers or pickers would come up here from Mexico and Texas and live in big tent cities, and they would help the black people pick cotton by hand because it was such a tremendous task. But then, like I say, after the advent of the picker, you know, people moved off the farm, moved to town, and the shacks started disappearing.
And what is sharecropping? Can you explain that?
Sharecropping was a way of getting your land farmed by other people. Farmers would for instance, give you a shack to live in, give you 40 acres that you were responsible for. You would live out of the company store, the commissary. You would go there in the spring and get your seed to plant, and while you're planting and working and nurturing the farm, you lived out of the company store. You would go in and get what you wanted, you know, sign your name, make your mark on a piece of paper on a tally sheet, and they just kept sheets, and you lived out of the company store the whole growing season long. Once harvest time in October, so late September, October, you would pick your cotton, bring it to the gin, and they would weigh it up, and you would do a once-a-year settle with the company store.
I wish that I could walk inside and take my bed, but it's evening time. It's time to get my dinner tonight.
So, Mayor Thomas, did you have any interaction with white people?
In 60,
And you were about 10 years old?
well, yeah, I was working on the farm, chopping cotton, picking cotton.
Uh-huh.
I lived on a plantation. That's who I worked for. And we chopped cotton, picked cotton, got out of school half a day to pick cotton and chop cotton. You know, that was it.
How has life changed in Glendora?
Mechanization with the farm took all the jobs away. Now there are no jobs. There were jobs back then. Of course, you was getting paid nothing for them, but there were jobs. And now it's even worse. There are no jobs. So I'm saying that it's worse now than back then.
Just for African Americans, or also for white people?
Well, it's just for African Americans. We back then on the plantation, the plantation that I lived on had their own food stamps. You know, we could eat always. We could have clothes always. But at the end of harvest, we have nothing. It's already used. We always ran a deficit. You worked on the plantation and you got all your food, your clothing, and your doctors and all of that cared for through the plantation. And at the end of harvest, you paid for all that. And you never had enough. You always started back over again borrowing. You couldn't actually build credit in other places, that kind of thing, because if you lived on the Floss plantation or the Sturdivant plantation or the Frederick plantation or any of those places, you had to live from those places. Well, it's worse for young people here now in Glendora because of the fact that there are no jobs, there's no work. They've got to suffer from what we didn't have, educational-wise. You know, the parents and those kind of people that normally, in order to change the condition for the young people here now, I should have built something, some type of wealth or something so that I could pass down. there was no pastime in the African American community other than culture. There was no wealth, there was no educational piece. I know families now, 5 generations of doctors, because the parent was a doctor, and then the kids on down became doctors and lawyers and those kind of things. And now with the black African American community, you don't have it. We had nothing to pass down, and we didn't have the correct English to speak so that my child could go and be better than I am. So, and certainly we had no wealth to pass down because we always lived to deficit during Jim Crowism and the plantation era.